I'll tell you what, I thought since the last time we've talked, I thought we made a lot of progress, especially in the quarterback room. I know the topic of conversation is going to center around, the quarterback battle that we have going between Lucas, Jordan, and Jalen.
This
And,
meeting is being recorded.
oh, you're okay. Um, the one thing I can tell you is I thought each one, from the first scrimmage to the second scrimmage to the third scrimmage, have taken steps forward and are really starting to make plays, especially both scripted and unscripted. I thought they're really starting to make good throws down the field. I thought they're really starting to get out and becoming threats both as a runner and a thrower, keeping their eyes down the field and really moving the offense. And I think at times, we really moved the ball really well against our defense in all of our scrimmages. And it's exciting to see. There's still things we got to clean up. It's spring football. We're in practice 14 or 13 today. And, we're still 4 months from when we're actually going to suit up and have to play against New Mexico State. So we still got a long way to go in this process. But really, when you look at, for the first time having 14 consecutive or 13 consecutive practices and really being full go in that intensive learning environment that they've been in since we started. I think each one has made great progress through everything and really shows signs of being a very complete quarterback.
Great. Thanks, Coach. We'll start out with Andre.
Hi, Coach. How has Tyrell Shavers looked in spring camp, and what kind of contribution are you expecting from him in the upcoming season?
I think it's been a learning curve for Terrell. I think there's been practices where he's really shown a great ability to use his size as a route runner and a ball catcher. And then I think there's times where you can really see him learning through what we're doing and really the terminology and this being his third system and everything that he's going through now, and this is being his third wide receiver coach. I think Coach Cooper's done a great job with him as well as all those wideouts. But I think there's practices where you can see him settle in and be real comfortable, and then I think there's practices where he's still kind of unsure of himself, and it's just a growth process that we're going through with him. I'll be honest with you. I think I would reserve any judgment on anybody right now until we get really through the 20-25 practices in fall camp as we come through summer. With June and July and the intensive training that happens there, and then into early August through fall camp. All these guys are going to be different players when we hit August 1st than they are right now, and we look for great strides and jumps from Terrell as we move forward. He's shown strides and has really started to become consistent as we've gone on.
Cool. And my second question is, if there was one area of focus you were looking to improve on in camp, what was that, and how has that progressed so far?
Well, I don't think it's any secret. We needed to have consistent quarterback play, and we needed to be consistent throwing the football. We're always going to run the football here. We're always going to be built around running the football. But now our quarterbacks have got to become consistent in throwing the football. And other than removing maybe about eight or nine throws from the scrimmage on Saturday, I really think we've seen that improvement across the board. But we've got to be able to threaten vertically, threaten short. We've got to be able to get the ball into the hands of the playmakers, both from RPOs, screens, quick game, intermediate game, play action, and vertical game. And I think all that has started to come together. We've made strides, and we have become a better passing team. I would feel very comfortable right now going into a game being able to throw the ball 35 to 40 times. And, if you got 90 plays, which is what we strive to get, 90-plus plays, throwing it 35 to 40 times leaves 50 run calls in there. And that's really what we're striving to get to in our balance attack. And I would feel comfortable with all three quarterbacks going in there throwing the football that many times. And I can tell you, I can't say that going into games last year, you felt very comfortable doing that. So it's been exciting, as spring ball always is. It's a back and forth process. You go through periods where you really take it to the defense, and then you go through periods where the defense straps it up and takes it to you, and it's been good back and forth. And I think our quarterbacks have really grown a lot. But to answer your question bluntly, we got to throw the football, we got to throw it efficiently, and we got to throw touchdowns, and we've improved on that and gotten a lot better at that. And I think we're on track to be ready to go to New Mexico State and being a balanced offense.
Thank you, Coach.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Andre. We'll go to Paul.
Hey, Coach, could you just give a couple of more observations from the scrimmage, maybe outside of the quarterback competition?
I'll tell you, Dan Bellinger is really impressive. He took a screen, went for about, I think, a 45-yard touchdown where he ran through people, ran around people. I think he had, I want to say, I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but I want to say he had, multiple, I know he had multiple catches. I want to say it was in maybe the 5 to 8 range, somewhere in there. And, we're moving him all over the field. And you got to remember, it's around 150 play scrimmage, but there's 3 groups going. So it's really a max of 50 plays per group. I want to say we were probably at between 40 and 45 plays per group in this last scrimmage. So, the total number of plays isn't reflective of the amount of plays that those players played because, Dan's with the first group, and that first group was in a max of 40 to 45 plays. So, when you look at the breakdown anywhere between 5 to 8 and 40 to 45 play window, it's a good number of targets and touches. I think Jesse Matthews, Kobe Smith, Eli Kothi, Ethan Dedeaux, and B.J. Busby are really good players, really good players. I mean, I think, we feel very confident and comfortable on the perimeter with those guys at any point in time. I mean, each one of those guys made not only spectacular catches, but made catches in yards after contact in and against the first defense. And you judge it, you're playing against a top 5 defense in the country. So, when you're watching these guys play against, how good our defense is, and we're starting really to make good plays, and those guys on the perimeter have been spectacular. Very impressive, very impressive. And then the other thing too is I think Kagan Williams, Greg did not take any reps in the scrimmage. We held him out again. But Kagan Williams, Jordan Bird, moving Jordan all around, you can tell he's really starting to get comfortable on the perimeter and in the backfield. And then Kagan Williams is a stud, is a flat stud. Really excited about his progress. And then you go up front. I mean, our offensive line is as talented as I've been around in a long time. Zach moving to left tackle. I told you from the get-go it was a natural fit, and he's only gotten better. Having Dom back is tremendous, especially with his leadership and his energy. Alama Ulave, I mean, the confidence that he has coming out of last season, I mean, he is the rock, and you can tell when he's in the game because he really just directs our entire offensive line. And, Billy Dunkel is one of the best, and I absolutely love Billy. And, we're in the scrimmage yesterday, or Friday, and he comes to me. We got the ball on the 20-yard line, and he comes to me and he says, "Hey, run it behind me, coach. Run it behind me." And it took us 2 plays to score. We ran blast right down their throat, and then we ran a read play, and Jordan Brook kept it and scored. So, and then I'll tell you, Brandon Crenshaw Dixon, BCD's done a nice job. I tell you what, he's really become a natural fit at right tackle. So, and we got some young guys that are impressive up front too. Tommy Mirabelli stands out to me as a player that plays all over the place. Kyle Trombley, somebody needs to mute. Don't you love Zoom? I love Zoom. Kyle Trombley played 83 snaps and played 4 out of the 5 positions in the offensive line. And really was very effective at all 4 positions. So, those are 2 young guys off the top of my head that, really have stepped up. In the scrimmage, Mike Goff asked Tommy Mirabelli, he said, "Tommy, you ever played tackle?" He goes, "In high school." He goes, "Good, go to right tackle." And I tell you, look natural, just as natural at right tackle as he does at center. So, I think you're seeing the development and the confidence of what we're going through, in that intensive learning environment and that physical and mental toughness that comes with it every day at practice. We practice a day in helmets, and you wouldn't know that we'd had just helmets on. I mean, it is full speed, full go, hitting gaps, cover 0 blitzes. I mean, and Katie bar the door, protect it all. And it's the best thing because our players only know one way, and that's to go hard.
You hit on a lot there, Coach. Thank you. Could you? I mean, I have a hard time.
Well, it's kind it's kind of hard when you say what other players, because there's, and to me that's the positive thing of what we're going through. You're seeing so many players develop, and you're seeing them make plays in high leverage situations against a high leverage defense. And that's the exciting part of it. That's why it's hard to pick just one, because Eli Cothey, we're in our second series against the Ones. His first two catches, he has two catches where he catches the ball and darts it, and I want to say he had two catches for 40-plus yards in that scenario. I mean, that's something we didn't see a year ago, and that's something both from the quarterback standpoint and the wide receiver standpoint. We're getting it to where he can do something with it, but yet now they're going to do something with it. The catch Jesse Matthews had on a sprint out, unreal. I mean, he's up, ball's behind him. He catches the back half of the ball. Ball's going over two defenders. I mean, we're fitting it right in, and they're making plays. That's why it's hard to say just one. Your question is an exciting question for me. I hope you feel that, because there's a lot of guys to talk about right now, and that's what it should be coming out of this. And that confidence that would carry over into May, June, and July and coming into camp, that should be the confidence of a top offense in the country. You were saying you didn't know how to phrase something. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
These next questions, hopefully comes across.
Just shoot it.
I want it. So, could you explain how your offensive philosophy complements Coach Maddox's defensive philosophy to kind of form an entire philosophy that Coach Hope has put in place? Well,
I think you phrased it perfectly. And guys, you'll find with me, just ask. You're never going to offend me. So please just ask away. I really believe that, and I did some adjusting when I came back in, and we sat as a staff, and I did the overall evaluation, and I got a book that's about that thick of everything that we did last season, and it's broken down into every statistical category from the last 5 years, where we were and what we need to improve on. The one thing that I really felt that we could build upon, and that probably I've changed, is we can be an explosive offense that averages, 42, 45, 49 points a game, and that's aggressive now. When you're talking about averaging that throughout the course of a season, that's aggressive. Okay, we can be that type of offense, but yet still control the game, control the clock, and keep our defense on the sideline. A lot of like what we did against BYU and Colorado State in terms of how we controlled that game. The Colorado game, we were in flux because of our quarterback situation, but you look at the games where we performed well and did well, we were able to keep the defense on the side but yet still be explosive. And now we got to hit, and we got to make those field goals into touchdowns. And we've worked hard in the red zone and everything that we've done. I mean, almost every practice has had a 10-minute red zone period, and the emphasis is touchdowns, and the emphasis is throwing touchdowns. When I talk about being a better passing team, you have to throw the ball in the red zone to score. And that's been an emphasis for our quarterbacks and all of our skill guys to be able to do that. And there's times where it's not pretty, but that's why we practice. But then there's times where, Coach put us down. We ended in the 2-minute scenario. He put the ball on the plus 27-yard line, put a minute on the clock, and we got to score a touchdown to win. They got to stop the touchdown, and we got to score a touchdown, right? And we scored twice, okay? But that's the emphasis, and we scored twice. Once throwing the football, and once we threw the football to get down inside the 5, and then Jordan had a keep play where he took it in. So those are the things that I think complement what we've done defensively. We can still control the game but be explosive. We can still control the game but yet isolate people one-on-one and make people have to play us and tackle us, and not just say, okay, we held the ball for 38 minutes. I want to hold the ball for 38 minutes and score 42 points. And that's the goal here, is not just to keep the defense off, but make the team have to score with us. And we're getting closer to that type of mentality offensively. And it's a process that we've gone through. In order to do that, though, your quarterback has to be one of the biggest threats on the field. And we're starting to see that, and we're starting to feel that, and we're starting, at least from my perspective, starting to get comfortable with that. And all three of them have shown signs of doing that. And I know you're going to talk to Dan here in a little bit, and I think he would say the same thing. The comfort zone of who's in there now is, okay, it's going to get done. And listen, I understand the questions from a year ago because, there were a lot of questions. You get out there and you're saying, man, can you really get me the ball, or can we do this, or can we do that? We can do it now, and it's happening, and you're seeing it in practice. And now we got to carry it over. Are we there yet? No. Okay, but are we closer? Absolutely. And are we on track? I think we're way ahead of the curve of where I thought we would be, and I think we're way on track to go into fall camp with a high level of confidence, a high level of energy, and an expectation that we're going to be not only a top 5 defense in the country, but a top 5 offense in the country. That's the goal. And you've heard me say this before, we got to match the production of our defense. And that's what we should do. And anything less should be unacceptable, and that's what we're going to do.
Last question for me. That was great. But Coach Hope you talked about as well, the kind of the lost time from last year in the development of the younger players, and try and maybe, I don't know, catch up is the right word, but what is it that how would you say catching up the young guys on their development has went this spring?
Oh, I don't think there's no more catch up. We're all on an even playing field now. I mean, there's no more excuses. There's no more lost time. Now it's full go and it's full throttle. If they're not caught up, then a part of that's got to be part of their accountability now, because the intensive learning that they've been through now for 15 practices in 30 days, they've caught up, and you've seen a lot of young players really step up. You've heard us talk about Jalen Armstead, really done a nice job. I'll tell you, 2 guys who are impressive, and they were impressive in the scrimmage, Jay Rudolph and Aaron Green. I'll tell you what, man, they are really high level and high leverage tight ends. Aaron Green comes across on a block on a split zone play, and he takes our defensive end and knocks him into tomorrow, knocks him on the ground, and then continues to drive him while he's on the ground. That's a young player there's no more development there in terms of trying to catch up that development. He's caught up. Now he's playing football. And it's the same with our quarterbacks. It's the same, you can pick up positions. I just mentioned Tommy Mirabelli and Kyle Trombley as 2 guys. Those guys are caught up now. There's no more of, that's all in the past now. We've moved beyond that. So, I'm excited about moving where we're moving and the constant high leverage, intense training that we're going to have now until we get to New Mexico State.
Fantastic. Thank you, Coach.
Yes, sir. You're muted.
Of course I am. Thanks, Paul. We'll go to Kirk.
Hello, Kirk.
Yeah, just talking about the tight ends, and I think last year you guys had about 3 catches per game for the tight ends. Would that have been what you had expected last year, or did you not get the ball to him as much as you wanted? How did that work, and then how do you see this season being with the tight ends?
No, I thought from the back half of the season you really started to see what we were with Dan and Nolan, and I thought the majority of their catches came at the back half of the season as opposed to the front half of the season. And I can go back and take a look and pull those numbers for you, but I think the majority of Dan's catches came, in the last 4 or 5 games. No, I mean, Dan's the type of player that should be targeted anywhere between 12 to 14 times. And, depending upon how good he is, because he's sitting right behind me, if the ball touches his hands, he could have anywhere between 10 to 14 catches. Now, just because he's targeted that way doesn't mean the ball is going to go that way. And that's a part of the progression reading system that the quarterbacks are learning in now, and understanding how defenses defend guys and being able to come off of those guys and get the ball to secondary players now. But Dan really should be targeted, in double digits, and there should be games where he has double-digit catches. I want to say, would you have maybe 4 or 5 catches in a couple games? And our aim is to get him, I think, more like Mike Friday. Like I said, I thought he was in the 5 to 8 catch range. You'd probably know better than me, Dan. And he was targeted, I think, another 2 or 3 times. So, you double that through, we played about a half, roughly. You double that then in the second half. Dan's got to be targeted that way.
Emphasized as much last season, and he would be this year, and what would that be?
I think it was a little bit of the growth process of the quarterback. maybe a little bit of the growth process of having to simplify the offense going into what we were doing, and then being able to expand as we were growing through stuff. And then now, obviously, the emphasis coming in now to the spring, the emphasis on becoming a better passing team. And the best passing teams that I've been around and the best passing teams that I know of all have a tight end that is, one of the biggest threats on the field, and we have one. And it's my job to put him in that position. It's the quarterback job then not to hone in on him and just throw to him, but to play off of him and get him the ball and then work off of that everywhere else that we go. You picked up, in the second half of the season, I thought we started to utilize him more in the RPO world, and we got to do that. We've done it this spring, and starting to move him all over the field too. And Jay Rudolph is another guy that can move that way. And Aaron actually made, I think, 2 catches in the scrimmage and made one real big, huge third down catch for us too. So our tight ends probably in that scrimmage we were at least in double digits, Dan. I would think we'd maybe 10 to 12 catches in that scrimmage from our tight ends as a whole. So, I think it's, Kirk, I think the fair answer to your question is it's been a growth process for all of us through this whole thing. And then how do we build them into the different versions of RPOs, play actions, nakeds, and drop back passing game. And it's, I think how our offense has evolved has really been a credit to the involvement of our tight ends.
What do you think is the biggest thing having the tight ends more involved brings to an offense? Is it, being there for a big third down catch, or is it to just give more versatility to the offense and give the defense one more thing to think about?
I think it's how do you defend them? How are you going to defend him? Are you going to zone off, and are you going to keep multiple bodies with eyes on him, which is going to open up alleyways elsewhere? Are you going to man him, and who are you going to man him with? Because, now all of a sudden we move Dan from, an attached tight end to the left, and he goes out to the numbers to the right. Okay, and now how do you adjust in your man-to-man coverage? Because if you take the corner out with him, that means you're putting your nickel or a secondary DB or linebacker on one of our wideouts, on Jesse, on Eli or Kobe. Now all of a sudden you take the nickel out, and we had that happen Saturday. They left the corner on the wideout and took the nickel on, and Friday, they took the nickel on him, and now we got Dan matched up on a nickel DB. Now you're talking about 6'5", 6'6", 255, 260 on a 5'10", 180 guy. So though it's how do they want to defense him, and then they got to find him. And that's got to be the emphasis that we put on him. We've asked him to do a lot of learning through all the movement stuff that we're doing this spring. And the beautiful thing about Dan is he's highly intelligent. And I'm not just saying that because he's standing right there. He's football smart, and he can move and be in multiple positions and multiple spots and understand the concepts and how they're built and know what he's doing. So, his evolvement through this has really been our evolvement through this too. But it's, to answer your question, it's more of how defenses want to choose to defend him. And it's a one-on-one matchup. Well, then, we're asking Dan to be the best player in the conference and go win that one-on-one matchup. And if it's a zone coverage, then, find the areas. Let's learn how to sit in zones and get him the ball. And then get everybody else the ball that work off of him on that stuff.
Mm-hmm. As far as the scrimmage, when you guys go and review the scrimmage a day or two later, I think you ran up enough plays of going on 2 games, but there were several interceptions.
There were.
You guys, do you discount those a little bit because it's the spring, certain circumstances, or what do you do when you go through those with the quarterback?
You look at Lucas Johnson. Okay, let's take Lucas. Okay, Lucas was 16 to 26. He had 3 drops, so he could have been 19 to 26. But then he had a few interceptions in there. I want to know why the interceptions are happening, and that really triggers in. If I remove 5 plays from that scrimmage of Lucas Johnson, okay, he probably played at a championship level throughout that scrimmage. But our job now is to come in today, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, into Friday, and then go in, and we got to remove those 5 plays. And a lot of it is their eyes. A lot of it is, the progressions and staying in the progressions and not guessing. And to me, that's a natural evolvement of what the quarterback has to go through. He did it 4 times in the scrimmage, but he threw it 26 times. we got to get those 4 times out because really he could have been 23 of 30, and that's what we're looking to get to. So, we have to eliminate the turnovers. That's the biggest thing we have to eliminate. But the only way to put a quarterback in that scenario is to throw the football. He's got to learn how to throw the football under the most intense pressure and in high leverage situations. And then why does it happen? And then the communication between he and I, the studying of the film, going back through now. Okay, what did you see? What happened here? Where were your eyes? And that communication and him honestly talking to me, and then us being able to fix that. I mean, and no, you don't discount it, but you would rather have it happen here and have that learning moment happen here than have it happen on Saturday against New Mexico State. And that's really the.
Yeah,
the
it's almost good to have 4 in that situation because it gives you more chances to go through.
No, I don't want any. But yeah, I mean, they're all reasons why. He had an RPO tipped, and it's a handoff look, and if he hands the ball, the ball's going up the crease for a huge gain. Well, the look was just a little bit different, and he has to be able to visualize that look and say, okay, this is a handoff look. I got to give the ball. Okay, so and if he does, that ball's never tipped, and then we eliminate that pick. Those are things that only happen through experience. We need to get that intense experience right now, so then when they get in a game, that's why they're live. The only way to know how they're going to react is to make them live. I don't want to know against New Mexico State what that kid's going to be like the first time he takes the hit, and against our defense, shoot, let them plug away at them, let them hit them. Okay, because now we know exactly who they are as a competitor and how they're going to lead our team. That's why they're live. And now you put them in those high leverage situations throwing the football, and now all of a sudden, they learn and they grow, and that's how you develop a quarterback through this. And that's what we're trying to do, is develop that quarterback through this.
I know everybody wants to ask, are you guys going to pick a starter by the end of the camp, but does it behoove you guys to keep it all the way through the fall because that's going to keep the competition a little more stiff?
I have not talked to Coach Hoke about this. We're going to sit down and talk tomorrow. He and I are scheduled to sit down and talk tomorrow. I really believe that all 3 of them have shown signs of really being able to be a championship level quarterback. And I believe that all 3 of them are still working through things that they have to correct, like we just talked about with Lucas, in order to be a championship level quarterback. I don't know if one has necessarily yet really stepped above the other 2. I think that's a positive thing, but I think, like you said, not necessarily to keep the competition going, but we still have 4 months until we go against New Mexico State. And let's see how this race is run over the next 4 months. And let's.
I think you guys said that Jalen could be a whole different quarterback in August than he is right now.
Oh, I believe he'll be 100%. Listen, none of this is going to be new anymore to anybody. The guys that are going to be going, they have heard everything. We're 15 practices through now. They're going to go through 2 months of summer, 2 months of Skelly, 2 months of everything that we're going to be doing through June and July. When we hit camp, the expectation is that we're on practice 16. Do you know what I'm saying? Not on practice 1. And so, none of this will be new for any of them. So I'm just, I think Coach and I will sit down and talk tomorrow. I know we are because we're scheduled to talk about it. But I think your point is very valid, Kirk, about, let's run this race for the next 4 months and see really who steps up and really can take the reins through this whole thing.
Could you see Greg Bell scrimmaging this weekend, or do you guys still hold him out because there's no sense in?
I think
what you have there.
I think that's up to Coach Hoke. I think there's going to be some people that between Coach Maddox and myself and him, we're going to have some serious conversations about. So, but I think that's up to Coach Hoke. They're going to get their carries, but we don't want them. There's no reason to get them their carries right now. Let's get those 20, 25 carries on his body against New Mexico State. So, we'll sit down and talk about it more as we get closer to the scrimmage. Right now, our focus is on practice 13 and then what we're going to do in practice 14.
Last thing is, in this last week of spring camp, anything in particular you really need to get in or want to get in that you haven't gotten done?
No, not necessarily. I think we got a good portion of everything in. We're not going to hold anything back in the spring game. We're going to go. We're going to play, and we're gonna take that as a way to really continue the evaluation process. So, we installed a little bit today. We'll install a little bit more tomorrow. Nothing extravagant, but just additions to what we're doing. And I think we've really peaked our install. We got everything in. After Wednesday, we will have gotten everything in that we had hoped and planned to be able to get in, so we didn't have to step back at all on anything that we were doing. So that's a great thing.